What's going on, world? Coming at you guys again. We got another quick video. Iran. Let's talk about it. So right now we are on the verge of a full escalation of military force in Iran. Now a lot of people are probably telling you that the emphasis in which President Trump is utilizing to communicate the seriousness to not only the American people, but the people of Iran, that this is an effort that is going to be facilitated and must be facilitated. I really need all my American citizens to recognize and understand the situation that we are in. This effort by President Donald Trump is an absolute necessity. I'm going to share with you top secret classified information, and I hope you have the maturity and the mental capacity to comprehend it. America is $39 trillion in debt. It is of the utmost importance for America to maintain its ability for control of petrol being traded in the US dollar. With BRICS trying to establish in the transition from the USD, the value of USD would drop probably 70% if it were to be replaced, if countries started trading outside of American USD. And with America being $39 trillion in debt, well, you've got two options. You can pay the cost of being an American according to the US debt clock, which is about $350,000 per American citizen. That's 18 years and older. Or the $200,000 for every American citizen that's 17 years and younger. If you cannot pay this, well, you're going to find yourself in a position to where a repeal of the Fair Debt Practice Act will be initiated, and through the 13th Amendment, you will be incarcerated for failure to pay a debt. And then you will be sold and leased out to facilitate that debt to foreign companies in foreign countries in which hold bonds in America to offset this debt in which they hold against America. Now, for many of years, the Democrats have consistently come out telling you specifically that we should get rid of the Second Amendment, that we need to abolish the Second Amendment. The fact that we have too many freedoms when it comes to the Second Amendment. Well, this is something that you have to understand. The Democrats have been putting themselves into this position for generations through waste, fraud, and abuse, illegal immigrants, sending money overseas, just completely ballooning the budget, completely ballooning it. To now, this is the standard. This is the precedent. This is chess. It's not checkers. There's a reason why the Democratic Party is the party of the slaveries and slave codes and Jim Crow and redlining and the KKK. It's because this is how they operate. They want you in some form or fashion, well, to be destitute, to be submissive, to be subservient. One of the reasons why they brought in millions of illegal immigrants is through a power in which, if Kamala Harris would have been elected president, it is highly likely that what we see right now with Donald Trump appointing ICE agents, it's highly likely that she would have appointed millions of illegal immigrants into the capacity of United Nations peacekeepers. And because America was $36 trillion in debt. And because it's very likely that, well, we would have went into Iran anyway, the separation between the two is in order to offset and facilitate the payment of the debt. You'd have illegal immigrants coming in, going after American citizens to pay for this $36 trillion of debt, in which they were responsible for creating through waste, fraud, and abuse, in the name of supporting the economy. So when you guys are actually arguing at the polls this 2026 midterm, when you guys are sitting in your house arguing about the fact of the matter that Trump is in Iran, Trump is trying to protect and support all Americans. Because if it weren't for Trump, we'd be in the middle of a civil war with illegal immigrants whom already look at Americans as being, unfortunately, privileged. How many times have you heard illegal immigrants talk down about Americans, saying they're lazy, etc., etc.? So if they were to come over here and establish temporary residence and get appointed as peacekeepers of the United Nations, and the repeal of the Fair Debt Practice Act to where every American citizen owes $250,000 to $300,000 because you're an American citizen if you're 18 years or older, or if you're 17 years or older or younger, you owe $200,000. So now you have to facilitate the payment for this. This is the same thing that happened when Spain was conquered back in 1492, which begat the transatlantic slave trade. It's the same age-old play. It's like a playbook in a football game. This is what the Democratic Party does. This is how they operate, right? And because the illegal immigrants that come in aren't technically American citizens and can be appointed temporarily as a peacekeeper in the United Nations, well, unfortunately, every American citizen who doesn't have the capacity to afford this debt, well, through the 13th Amendment, will find themselves in a form of slavery or indentured servitude. You guys keep arguing against the methodology in which Trump is trying to facilitate. Trump is trying to keep you from being in a civil war. Trump is trying to keep you from fighting against enemies that are foreign and domestic. Foreign enemies like illegal immigrants that have come into the country and now have been appointed through the United Nations program as peacekeepers on the premise that, well, humanitarian rights are being violated here in America. I've made multiple videos about this. You guys really need to understand, and you really need to step up to the plate and understand what Trump is trying to do. Trump is trying to keep America great. He is trying to keep America forward. He was trying to keep Americans from engaging in a civil war. He's trying to keep America whole and pushing forward. We are $39 trillion in debt. There's no way America can pay for that. You guys remember the audit that was supposed to take place about the Federal Reserve in New York and Fort Knox and the rest of the small gold facilities around the country? It never took place. You know why? Because the gold isn't here anymore. It's gone. The only thing that's standard right now is petrol. That's what's sustaining America right now. That's why it is of the utmost importance why Trump went into Iran and why we're trying to control the Strait of Hormuz. Because we have to make sure that the petrol maintains its ability to be traded in the USD. If not, well, we'll lose 70% of our value overnight. And then the harsh reality will come around to where if you think inflation is high now, wait until your dollar is worth 30 cents. You guys don't understand. Trump is not just a president. He is doing everything possible to make sure that you do not fall victim to the world in which we recognize that is inhumane, that is cruel, and that is unusual. It is a privilege to be an American citizen. Outside of America, is not a reality that you really want to experience. So, as I've said before, when you go out to the polls, you need to vote Republican 2026. Because if you don't vote Republican 2026, you're going to find yourself wishing you had a Second Amendment and utilizing some form of barter system to keep yourself outside of becoming a slave through indentured servitude. Because this is the plan for the Democratic Party. There's no way the Democratic Party can help pay back $39 trillion of debt. So the only way possible moving forward is to keep exploiting America through waste, fraud, and abuse to line their own pockets. And then when shit implodes and shit hits the fan, it's the American citizens whom are going to be left on the line. And those who have all the money and all the resources, they're going to be fine. Just like they did when Spain was conquered in 1492 and people were sold into slavery. That's the narrative. That's the history of the Democratic Party.